Good morning everyone. A very warm welcome to each and every one of you present in today's science class. Once again class, before starting with the class today, I would like to just remind you this thing, that is, as I told you the last week, that is since India has recorded the highest number of COVID cases in the last 24 hours, that is in one day, that was around 80,000. So this mark has also been crossed, and now the toll or the number has reached up to 90,000. Okay, I hope 87 or 90,000 is the last highest number of cases which has been recorded in India. Okay, and this is the news of yesterday which I am telling you. So please, it is my humble request from each and every one of you to take all the necessary precautions, take utmost care. Okay, though the recovery rate has been increased to 77%. ठीक है, रिकवरी रेट मतलब ये होता है कि जितने लोग बीमार हो रहे हैं उसमें से कितने लोग ठीक हो जा रहे हैं, तो दैट इज आउट ऑफ 100% द रिकवरी रेट इज 77%, which is more than enough. That is very good. Okay, but why to be on a in order to be on a safer side, it is necessary, or we should go for some of the precautions so that we do not get into any kind of trouble. Whether the recovery rate is 77% or 95%, it does not matter to us. Okay, if we start suffering from COVID-19, of course it will be a very bad situation for us, and the recovery in our case, whether it is possible or not, that completely depends on your immune system, which you know it very well and nobody others knows it. Okay, so please take care of all these precautions which you have to take. Okay, if the person in front of you is not wearing the mask or anything, try to advise him, give him the suggestions, or in order to be on a safer side, you just wear the mask so that you do not get into any kind of trouble. Leave bothering about others, leave spreading awareness about others to others. Is that clear? So starting with today's class, let me inform you that is, if you remember, we have already completed our this chapter, that is your skeletal system and the nervous system. Okay, and since we have already completed, and I told you class, one more thing I would like to share here, that is what I remember is that when we had the Zoom classes, and before to that or after that, I told you that this Zoom is not compulsory for us. Okay, so if the Zoom classes will be there, the link will be shared to you. If the Zoom classes are not there, then of course the YouTube classes, the premier classes will be there. Okay, last Tuesday what happened, since it was known to you, all of you know this thing, that is either there are only two platforms, दो ही जगह है जहाँ पे आपकी classes हो सकती हैं, either it will be on a Zoom or it will be on the YouTube Premiere. तो आपके पास जो भी आया, तो of course it is going to be planned on that day only. Okay, so there is no need of asking to anyone or giving the call to me or to any other members of the management again and again that today was the Zoom class, today was the Zoom class. So what can we do? We have to finish the syllabus. Okay, and it is not possible to complete the syllabus on the Zoom classes. Okay, because I told you most of you are not serious in that. Okay, in the case of your Zoom classes. Okay, so starting with today's class, first we will be doing the exercises. Okay, if you remember yesterday, that is on Sunday, the weekly PDFs were shared to you. Okay, and in that I have shared the keywords as well, which are given at the end of the chapter, and these keywords which are given, this will be your define the following terms. Okay, so define the following terms means what? That is, first you will be starting your skeletal system with this only, and at the same time today, first and the foremost thing, we are going to do the bookish exercises, and thereby we will be going ahead with some more exercises from the book that is given at the end of your chapter, which is there, or which is to be done in the fair notebook. Okay, or which is our fair part. Okay, so starting with this, let me first share you the screen, and thereafter we will be going ahead. Okay, this one, skeletal system and the nervous system. So here first, if you remember, we have to do, that is given on page number 59. Please open, all of you, page number 59. Please open it. Okay, I hope this is the first page only. Okay, this one only. Here we have the get set, that is the first one. This, if what I remember is that we have already done, but still I am telling you once more today. That is, if you can see here, the very first one, this is your leg one. This is for your D part, that is matching with this bones. Teeth is present in the skull region, so this one. C, that is your palm region, so this will be your A. And the last, the knee part, this will be your B part, fourth one. Okay, now see, so this we have done. Now I request you to please open page number 64, that is your checkpoint, page number 64. This is 63. After this one is the checkpoint. Okay, so name the parts of the skeleton that protect these organs. Okay, so if you remember the very first one, that is the brain. Okay, if you can see here, I'm showing you in the skeletal part here. Okay, this is our brain, and the brain is protected by which bony framework? That is known as your skull. Okay, next, moving ahead with the next one. The spinal cord. The spinal cord, if you remember, this is protected by your backbone. Heart is protected by your rib cage, and the lungs also, they are protected by the rib cage only. If you remember, here I told you that this is your entire rib cage, and this is responsible. Here is your heart, and here we have the two lungs, left lung as well as the right lung. Okay, and if you can see here also, the ribs are attached. Okay, they are the floating rib. The rib cage encloses the heart and the lungs and protects them from injury. Okay, so moving ahead with this, so we have completed. Now open page number 66. This is your 63, 64, 65, and the last one, that is, now we are going to start with the exercises. So here are the exercises. Okay, what you can see, if you remember, these were the keywords which were given, and this will be your define the following terms. Okay, so please write it down in your fair notebooks, this part. Moving ahead with this, let us answer, that is the very first one, multiple choice questions. First one, which of the following bones produce blood cells in our body? Blood cells, if you remember, blood cells are produced in the where? Blood cells are produced in the humerus and the femur. That is, these are the two names of the bones, if you remember. Okay, let me show you that also. Okay, see this one. Here we have, when we were talking about the limbs, okay, that is, the arms are attached to the shoulder bones and the legs parts. Okay, so here the humerus and the femur. Okay, the thigh bone or the femur bone. The upper arm has one long bone which is known as the humerus, and the thigh bone or femur is attached to the hip bones. Now see the function. Okay, now see, the long bones such as the bones in the arms and the legs are hollow and are filled with a soft jelly like substance called bone marrow. The blood cells of our body are made in the bone marrow. So of course this is the same part which we were talking about, that is here, which of the following bones? So humerus and the femur, that is the bones of the hands and the legs. Next one, how many vertebrae in our backbone is made of? So our backbone is made up of which one we have here? Okay, second one, that is your C part. How many vertebrae? 33 are there. What are the fibers that hold the two bones together at joints called? Okay, if you remember, two bones which join together, they are held together by ligaments. Okay, let me show you that as well. Okay, now see, our bones are this. Bones are held together at joint by strong elastic fibers which are known as ligaments. Okay, moving ahead. Next one, which of the following is not a part of our nervous system? Brain is there, spine, no, spinal cord, no, nerves, no. Okay, now see, part of our nervous system. Nervous system, of course, it is going to include the nerves, okay, and the same nervous system is included, or it is there in the case of your brain only, because each and every nerves are connected to the brain. So basically this spinal cord, if you remember, this spinal cord is present in the backbone. So this is not a part of our nervous system. Okay. Sorry, this one, the spine. Okay, the spine is not the part of our nervous system because this is the backbone. This is another name for the backbone, and which helps in providing a proper shape to the body. And when we talk about the spinal cord, so if you remember, we dealt or we have gone through the spinal cord when we were going ahead with the messages transfer from one place to another. Okay, see, the nervous system consists of brain, spinal cord and the nerves. Okay, next brain, spinal cord and nerves together make up the nervous system. So this spine is the odd one out, or this is not a part of our nervous system. Next one we have, which part of the brain controls the involuntary muscles? Involuntary muscles means what? Do you remember? Involuntary muscles means what? The muscles which are not under our control, which regulate by their own, and this is your medulla oblongata, because if you remember, cerebrum and cerebellum, what we have studied here. Now see, when we have, this is the thinking part, it is for your voluntary actions, cerebellum for the balance, posture, movement, coordination, and the medulla was for controlling the involuntary muscles or involuntary actions which are not under our control. Okay, next one, write true or write T for true and F for false. Correct the following statements. We are born with 206 bones. False, because human beings are born with around 300 bones which keep on fusing amongst each other, and thereby they get converted into 206 bones. Okay, the bone marrow makes blood cells for the body. That is completely true. The backbone is one long bone. This is also false, because the backbone is made up of 33 small butterfly shaped bones known as vertebrae. It is not a one long bone. It is made up of 33 small butterfly shaped bones. Okay, bones are attached to muscles by tendons. This is your true. Next, you can control the muscles that make your eyes blink. This is false, because blinking of eyes is a involuntary actions controlled by your medulla oblongata, and since it is one of the involuntary actions, it is not under our control. We cannot control this one. Okay, match the columns. Just have a look over this, and thereafter we will be going ahead with the discussion. Please have a look over it. Okay, if we talk about here the match the columns, the very first one that we are talking about is your cerebrum. Cerebrum is what? It is for controlling thinking and all these activities. Okay, controls thinking and everything. If you remember, cerebrum is the thinking part of our brain. Okay, the spinal cord, it takes spinal cord controls the reflex actions. If you remember, that is the actions in which the messages do not go to the brain directly, they are answered by the spinal cord only. That is in the case of your emergency, or when you don't have time to think upon it or to ponder upon it. Okay, next one is your brain stem. Okay, when we are talking about the brain stem, so here this is nothing but your medulla oblongata, which is responsible for controlling the involuntary actions. That is your third E part. Okay, motor nerve, that is takes messages to the from the brain, and sensory nerves. If you remember, two types of nerves you have studied, See, nerves, here it is. Sensory nerves and your motor nerves. Sensory nerves carry messages, motor nerves carries the orders. Okay. Next is, motor nerve takes the messages from the brain, that is your orders. Cerebellum is responsible for controlling the balance and everything. Is that clear? Okay. Now, when we come across here, that is, name the bones that make up our arms and legs. Okay. So here basically we are talking about the two types of bones which are present. That is, in the case of your upper bone, that is in the case of the arm, you have upper arm and the lower arm, legs, upper leg and lower leg. Okay, the same it is talking about, and we will be writing about their names as well. That is, we have humerus, femur and all those things that will come into this category. That is basically, if you remember, we are talking about the limbs here. Okay, this part, the limbs, the arms and the legs are together called the limbs. The arms are attached to the shoulder bones. Basically this part is we are talking about these two paragraphs. Upper arm has one long bone, humerus. Lower arm has two bones. Then thigh bone or femur is attached to the hip bones, longest bone in the body. The lower leg has two bones. Okay. Now if you move ahead with the next question. So here we have, that is, name the different types of joints in our body and give one example of each. So if you can see this table which is given here, this is the joints. Okay, 4 different types of joints basically: hinge, pivot, gliding and ball and socket joint. Okay, these are the 4 different types of joints, and with examples, that is elbows in the case of hinge joint, pivot joint, that is between the bones of the forearm, then ball and socket present into the shoulder and hip, whereas the gliding joint, that is responsible or present between the ribs and the breastbone. Okay, they also exist between the wrist and the ankle. Okay, so this was for the short answers. If you move ahead with this next one, what is the cartilage? If you remember, cartilage are the stiff but flexible substance present on the surface of the bones where they join with other bones. That is, these cartilages, they help in joining from bones to bones. Okay. Now see, a stiff but flexible substance called cartilage is present on the surface of bones where they join with other bones. Is that clear? So this was the number 4, that is related to your cartilage. Moving ahead with the next one, what is the main function of the medulla? We have many times discussed the main function of medulla is to control the involuntary actions, and when we are talking about the involuntary actions, basically the actions which are not under our control, that is we are talking about this part, medulla, or the brain stem, which connects the brain to the spinal cord and controlling all the involuntary muscles responsible for actions such as breathing, digestion, blood circulation, coughing and sneezing. Alright, moving ahead, first let us have a look over the time interval. Okay, still we have some time, so let us move ahead with the next one. That is your answer these questions, that is your long answer type. What are the functions of the skeleton? Okay, lots of functions has been given to us, if you can see here. So the functions are basically, if you remember, okay, functions when we are talking about, so basically providing shape, maintaining, protecting the these are the functions of the skeleton: shape, support, strength, protecting the delicate organs, long bones and filled with jelly substance responsible for making up of the blood cells. Okay, next one we have here, explain the working of muscles. In the case of working of muscles, you will be dealing or going ahead with this entire paragraph which we have discussed here, that is this one, joints. After the joints we have the muscles and working of the muscles, how muscles work. Okay, so these muscles generally they work in pairs by contracting and relaxing. When we lift object and bring it towards shoulder, the muscles at the forefront contract while the muscles at the back of the arm relax. When we bring the object back to its original position, the biceps relax and the triceps contract. So in this way, this entire paragraph is going to explain the entire functioning of our muscles. Okay, if we move ahead with this part, what is the difference between a sensory and a motor nerve? If you remember, we have discussed this point just now, that is sensory nerves are responsible for transferring the messages from the body part to the brain, and motor nerves are responsible for transferring the messages from the brain to different body parts, that is basically taking the orders. Okay, next one, if we move ahead. So what is the reflex action and how does it work? Reflex action, if you remember, that is all the actions which are done all of a sudden in case of your emergency. So here we will be discussing this part. Okay, and how it is work. It works, that is the messages are sent to the spinal cord, and from the spinal cord only the orders are being taken. Okay, the messages do not go to the brain. If you compare this, let me compare this part. Okay, if you try to compare these two figures, okay, see here, let me minimize it a little bit more, 95. Okay, see here, if you can see the blue lines or the dark lines, they are representing the messages which are sensory nerves, which are taking the messages from the body part to the brain. Okay, here also messages from the body part to the brain. But in the case of reflex action, what you can see is that the messages are not able to reach to the brain, but they reach only up to the spinal cord, and from the spinal cord only the orders are being transferred. But in this case, what you are able to see, the orders are coming from the brain and then getting transferred to the body parts. Okay, so this is the action of the reflex action. Okay, now let us move ahead. I hope this was the last one. All right, so this was all for your this part. Now what we can see is that, now see, so what we have done, we have completed the bookish exercises, as well as we have also discussed the question answers, that is the long answer and the short answers. Okay, now tomorrow what we are going to do, that is tomorrow when the Zoom classes will be there, tomorrow we will be performing the activities related to the joints basically. Okay, and I will be also explaining you, or we will be having a quick revision of what we have studied in this skeletal and the nervous system chapter. And basically please be ready with one or the other examples of the joints. Okay, one more thing, what will be there tomorrow? Okay, since we have the revision class, so I request each and every one of you to pay utmost care. Please be ready, okay, be attentive, and at the same time, okay, do not forget to concentrate on the class, because what we are going to do today is, I am just giving you a little bit brief idea what we are going to do tomorrow. Okay, in the Zoom classes I'll be calling the names of the students, and I'll be telling you to explain any one of the joints. Okay, basically you have to prepare the joints only, and you will be explaining this either by showing it in your own body, or you will be explaining it with the help of an example. Okay, anyway you will have to do it, and this is for all the four branches, that is your Durga Kund, Sarai Nandan, Samne Ghat, as well as your Knowledge Park. Okay, and once again I am telling you, please try to specify the name in the given format or as it has been told to you, that is your name, branch, or name, class, and the branch. Okay, and please use the short forms, and please prepare it nicely for tomorrow's Zoom class. Is that clear to all of you? So that you also will be able to understand the joints in a much more better manner. Is that clear? Okay, so this was all for today. Okay, now what you have to do in your fair copies, first and the foremost thing, first and the foremost, you must have completed, if not you'll be completing the entire bookish part, that is fill in the blanks, true, false, match the following in your book. Okay, fair copy, that is your fair notebook which we are talking about. In that, first and the foremost thing, you will complete the define the following terms, and at the same time the answer the following questions, short as well as long. This will be given by me in the PDF format either tomorrow or day after tomorrow, that is on Wednesday. Is that clear? So please be ready with your fair notebook up to define the following terms, and for your Zoom classes about the joints as well as the thorough revisional classes. I'll be asking the questions and you will have to answer it. Okay, so please be prepared for this so that we can have a much more interactive session. Is that clear to each and everyone? Okay, so this was all for today. Okay, that's it. Once again, I would request each and every one of you to take all the necessary precautions so that you as well as your family remains on a safer side. So that's all for today. Thanks for being with me and have a superb day ahead. Thank you.